But first up, as federal parliament resumed today, the 9 newspapers ran a poll on support for more ambitious reduction of Australia's emissions. Now, I guess the question would have been quite simple. Do you agree or disagree that our zero emission targets should be more ambitious? The poll was of 1,800 people, and I'm presuming, although I don't know, so I could be wrong, but I'm betting that not many of that 1,800 were actually housed in regional and rural Australia. Now, as The Age and the Sydney Morning Herald reported in a celebratory way, 44% supported the idea of reducing the nation's carbon emissions by between 65 and 75% by 2035. OK, let's pull that apart. Doesn't that mean 56%, otherwise known as a majority, don't support that, and indeed 18% of that group opposed the idea and 38% didn't know or didn't care? I mean, I feel like we're back in voice territory again. And what do you seriously think the answer to the question would have been if the question was actually, do you support higher net zero targets for Australia if your standard of living drops? Simple question, and I think we all know the answer. But of course, prominent supporters of net zero, including Teals like Zali Steggall, who represents the northern beaches of Sydney, where, by the way, the impact of renewables will be a very long way away, she just decides instead to demonise Barnaby Joyce and anyone else who doesn't agree with her, accusing the coalition of being irrelevant. Steggall was upset that Barnaby's private member's bill was getting debated at all in the chamber, something he's only too happy to have happen every Monday Parliament sits.
The path of this nation going down something where the majority of the globe is not going, where the majority of the global economy is not going, where China's not going. I mean, they'll give sort of a statement about it, but they don't do it, where the United States is getting out of, where Russia was never part of, where Indonesia's not part of, where India's not part of, where Africa's not part of it, where Southeast Asia's not part of it, where basically South America's not part of it, where New Zealand's out of it. What are we going to achieve, Karen? What can this possibly achieve except self-immolation?
Talking a fair bit of common sense, Barnaby. Now, of course, Zali Steggall and the Minister Chris Bowen, they don't want to know about any alternative views that might clash with their climate change zealotry, with Steggall again blaming every weather event we even have now, including rain, on climate change.
Those who have in the know have identified that it is dire, that it is going to be really scary for many communities, that it highlights the risk of erosion, droughts, floods, bushfires, all of those risks escalating.
Meanwhile, this whole debate has become again a massive headache for new opposition leader Susan Lee, who at the weekend stood up at the Queensland LNP State Conference and said the party needed to modernise and broaden our appeal, only for the Queenslanders to join state Liberal branches in WA and SA, urging the party to walk away from net zero targets. So where does that leave the new opposition leader, Susan Lee? Well, in a very sticky spot, I'm suggesting, and aren't Labor loving it? Now, my guess is the new Liberal leader will not be courageous enough to shift her position, even though most Australians now realise that when the personal cost to not dumping net zero will be on their hip pocket, they would love to have an alternative, regardless of their age.